there it is. Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Nyla, Coach Nyla.
Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Fatimah, Coach Fatimah.
And we're co-wives and co-founders of OutstandingPersonalRelationships.com. Outstanding Personal Relationships with our husband, Coach Nazir. And so we're actually going to give you guys, so we were having technical difficulties. Those who were with us before and didn't see anything, I don't know what happened, but we're back up. So since we're back, make sure you guys are sharing. We those who are just now joining us, we started talking, we're letting you guys know that we're talking about healing. We are focusing on healing this month, OPR, Outstanding Personal Relationships, and it's a very serious subject. So let us know where you are watching us from. Let us know how you're doing, how you're really doing, because this is going to be a topic that we are really going to get into and talk about, healing, how to heal, and, different, ways to go about healing. Not that everybody ways of healing is the same, but, we'll let you know some of the ways that we have used healing and even in our relationships. So, not just with a lot of the stuff that's going on right now, but definitely, relationship wise as well. So make sure you guys let us know where you are watching us from. Make sure you share, because sharing is caring. And we will get started in a few seconds.
And remember, when you're answering the question about your healing, there's no wrong answers. It's your healing, it's your journey. So, if you're not having a good day or your healing's been rough, say that.
Oh my gosh, it's good that you said that.
Be honest about it. It's no wrong answers, if I could just stress that enough. Because we try to hide things and say what we think people want us to say or want here. Nope, just say it like it is. It's not easy. Healing's not always easy, but it is always worth it. Absolutely. So
that made me think of like the red table talk. I was trying to think, because she was talking about, just things are different, the journey is different. But be genuine. The thing is, your journey is going to be your journey, and everybody is not going to see it the same way.
That's right.
But just because people are not seeing it the way that you see it does not mean that it's not. Does not mean it's not real. Does not mean that it doesn't exist or anything like that. So I talk about a bit about me. I'm the type of person, still a little bit, but very much back in the day, type of person that however people felt about me, I kind of really took it in deep, where I would even question my own feelings and thoughts, and like, is it real? Is it necessary or anything like that? I mean, we have to do that anyway, and we'll talk about that as far as the healing process, but we have to do that for ourselves. A person could not see it the way we see it, and then we're wondering, okay, well, maybe they're right, and then we're questioning our feelings and our beliefs in how we are going about the process of healing.
Right. And
sometimes that can take a toll on you, and it can take away your self-esteem too, and your power and your confidence and all that other good stuff. I'm speaking definitely from experience, because it got to a point where I was considered a crybaby. I was called a crybaby, just different things like that, because I cry. I can cry when I'm upset. I can cry when I'm happy. I can cry when I'm sad, mad, whatever. But when it came down to it, even when I was angry, it was like, well, what are you angry for? For one, I'm kind of the person that's happy a lot. People see I'm smiling and everything like that. But just because I'm this happy person, the majority of the time does not mean that I don't have issues, that I don't have problems, that I don't have, sorrows or anything like that. So sometimes when we portray ourselves in the way that we think people should see us, as this good person or this quiet person or this nice person or this kind person, we put things in perspective where they don't get to see the real us. So that's what we were talking about as far as being genuine. Still be the real you. People are going to see you for who you allow them to see. And sometimes, especially even now, there's a lot going on. And we have people that are going through a lot. They're stressing out. Some are killing themselves. Some are harming themselves in other ways, and it's devastating. So we got to find a way, and then healing, we can be in control of our own healing, but we can also be where it gets to the point where we are helping others heal as well.
Right. That part. Glad you said that.
The intro, where you from? Do a re-intro, so we all good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
All righty. Again, because we want to make sure that those who are just coming in, we actually was giving some time for others to come in. So again, I'm Nyla, Coach Nyla.
and I'm Fatimah, Coach Fatimah.
Coach Nazir. Welcome, Salaam alaikum, peace. Let us know where you're chiming in from. We see your salams, definitely appreciate those. Candid Cowives from around the world. I see, let me see, what's the name? Rabi Ono Ismailia, I don't know. Probably slaughtered it, but our sister from Abuja, Nigeria, what's going on? How you be? But yeah, so we're also going to take some question and answer and go through some of the questions that we received in our inbox and everything as well. So again, if you haven't done so, let us know where you're chiming in from. If you're watching us on YouTube, smash the like button, make sure you subscribe, get our notifications for when we go live. And again, we appreciate you and welcome. Fatimah, it's on you.
I don't remember what I was going to say. You think about what
People
I was
talk
gonna
about,
say, y'all.
well, healing and
forgot.
why it's important.
Oh, my goodness.
More than anything. Now, one of the things I know is that, we're working with many people, and myself, period, just coming up. We all, in general, we're okay. We're all right. Okay? So you're okay. You're not necessarily damaged in anything like that, but we all have different challenges, struggles. We have traumas. We have things that have attached ourselves to us and that form our perception of the world and even influence how we respond or behave in certain things. And we may not even know of the different traumas or different things that we couldn't process at a certain time. Many of us carry traumas from our childhood that affect us far into adulthood, and we have no idea how these things are. So first, you're okay. You're human. It's called normal. All right, it really is.
I just think I was
just called normal. And we all have these things. The question is, what lessons can we learn from them, and how can we move forward from that? So I'm reminded of some of my mentors were talking about how many times we break bones and how they end up, if you break them repeatedly in certain places, and there's certain cultures and different martial arts or whatnot, where you may break your knuckles and it'll calcify even harder and come back harder so that your knuckles are even stronger. So some people intentionally do that. Or some will break their noses so that they get used to the different pain. I'm not suggesting you do any of these types of things, but many times if we are receiving a crack to our emotions or some challenges, or we feel broken in a certain area, then we can come back stronger from that or heal from that. But the first part of healing, just like in any type of getting better or getting over different addictions, is awareness. So to understand that, one, it's okay. All right. Two, what lessons can I learn from that? That's one of the questions that I've asked, because coming up, at least in the house that I came up in, it was alcoholism, there was domestic violence abuse, there was sexual abuse, there was many different types of things that went on, all right, that sadly are more common than not, all right, and they're not something that are necessarily talked about, because at least in the Black community, being here in the U.S., being African American, that's something that's, is taboo, swept under the rug, you don't put the family out there like that, and all kind of other stupid stuff. So there's not much help that is given psychologically wise, or going to speak to someone or anything. So many people do what they consider or call self-medicating, and usually that involves some exterior substance, whether it's smoking, drinking, shooting up, whatever it may be, or abusing other prescription drugs, all kinds of different things that occur, or participating in addictive behaviors and so on. But again, the first step, as we all know, is awareness, which is crucial and critical to our adulthood and really moving forward. So I at least want to point that out, because that's step zero, recognizing that we're human. There may be some traumas and other issues and some hurt and pain that is affecting or influencing our behaviors, or if multiple people are saying it, it might not be a conspiracy against you. It may just be something that's actually true.
Yeah, true.
So we have to introspect.
Well, that reminded me of, I had to have what is that thing called? I had to have a fatty tumor removed. And I stayed awake for this. And my surgeon said, He said the best surgery that we perform is the surgery we don't have to perform. And I stayed awake. I will never do that again. I've never wanted to be a doctor. Now I know why, because stuff was sizzling and burning and cauterizing things. And my co-wife knows the gnarliness of what that must have looked like. And he said something to me because I could see the reflection of the surgery in his shield. And I was like, oh my God. And he had to use an instrument to cauterize or burn away a vein that was stuck to this tumor, TMI, but that's what he did. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like, you're burning my leg. And I'm seeing little tufts of smoke. And he looked at me, he said, I have to hurt you to help you. It's gonna look ugly before it heals. The healing process is not always pretty. He said that this is what it has to look like in order for you to heal. So I said, I took it as also him saying, I have to traumatize this area to prevent further trauma and facilitate healing. So I thought about healing, and people, I think we buy into this stuff oftentimes, that healing has to be easy, and why does it have to be hurtful? That's part of the process. You have to hurt in order to heal. You just do. I don't care if you stub your toe. I don't care if you poke yourself in the eye. I don't care if you get in a car accident. I've been in a car accident. We all have been. Where I had a traumatic injury. I didn't think it was traumatic because my head wasn't split open. But the neurologists and all the people that have studied in the medical field know that you do not have to break anything to suffer trauma. And I had to learn, this is not a month, you'll be fine. This is a healing that has to happen for the rest of your life. So we have to hurt in order to heal. And that's all right.
The process.
It's a process.
Talking about the process, that it takes a process. It's a process. And the we said the hurt for the healing is really interesting, because I think about different like therapy.
Yeah.
When they rehash, I want you to rehash certain
Yep.
stuff in order to talk about it and get through it. There's different types of therapy. One of my favorite that I think is way more effective than rehashing all the past and doing this other stuff is a thing called timeline therapy, but I'll talk about that later. But because it's not these years and years or months and years of going through what could have happened, what possibly did this type of thing. And I like what Coach Nyla was saying about, the awareness part first, being aware of how these things are affecting you, being aware that, and being understanding that, yes, I'm a human being. It's okay for me to, feel a certain type of way. I have feelings, I'm going through these things. And it goes back into being Black, being in America, and these different traumatic experiences of actually being Black in America is trauma there, period. We live in Jim Crow North, is trauma here. It's very segregated. It's a lot of different stuff that is going on. And the thing is that sometimes we are taught to not feel the pain. We are taught not to, go, even our healing sometimes is taught by, don't talk about it. Don't bring it up. My mom used to say, don't stir up old mess because it starts to stink, that type of thing. So a lot of it is just like, mum's the word, hush about it, put it behind you and keep it pushing. Little do they know that stuff starts to affect you in your life. It starts to shape who you are or who you become. And I noticed those things shape the way I handle my relationships. My thing is, I look at, I know how much pain can be. I know how painful things can be in life. So my thing is, I always wanted people around me to be happy. So my thing is, I would take any type of pain or anything that they could, could possibly be painful for them, and I'll take it and, deal with that type of stuff. And I realized as I got older that I became resentful. And because I felt that people wouldn't do the same for me, or they weren't doing the same for me. That type of thing, even going through that process, a healing process of changing or transformation, if you will, because that's pretty much what healing is. It transforms you into a better you. So, but being aware of how it's affecting you, what it's doing in your life, what it's doing for your life, is the first step. And then saying, what steps do I need to take? Do I need to get professional help? Do I need to talk to somebody else? Can I do this alone? And usually our healing, yes, it starts with us, but a lot of times we don't go about it alone.
So just a quick thing to find out if you need some therapy or something else, is to really, if you are over 30 years old and you're still concerned about maybe other people's opinions of you, or something from your childhood is holding you back from moving forward, no disrespect. I mean, therapy works. All right, but consider getting therapy. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so again, if you've been on this earth for 3 decades and there might be some things holding you back, or you have these massive insecurities or something that occurred to you is still affecting you from your childhood, seek therapy.
Yep.
All right, whether it's talk therapy or different types of therapy, prayerfully somebody that's from your own culture you can relate to, or your background, that understands your life, no matter what your religious, if you're Muslim or non-Muslim, what have you, you want somebody that understands your culture and what's going on, especially if it's polygyny. So we're going to jump into a question that also can be an example of that. So the question is, dear sisters, obviously not for me. I'm a revert to Islam from the Catholic faith. I converted to Islam approximately 4 to 5 years ago. Alhamdulillah, even though she was raised some time in Saudi Arabia, she never knew any couples that were in a polygynous relationship. She married a husband who's younger than herself. She's 48, he's 33. They've been married 4 years. She has not been able to have children, and her husband does not want to adopt, but he wants to have biological children. I'm writing in hopes to answer the question, share how you all decided to become a polygynous family and add another wife, and how that was for you as a first wife. That's your question. Who was raised in the West, I assume. How have you two ladies become so close is the next question. And what did your initial conversations look like? Okay. So then there's some other stuff that goes, I'll read it briefly again and keeping everything anonymous. So if you do have any questions that you want to keep anonymous or whatnot, support at outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. If you have any questions today, please put a bunch of question marks so that we can see the questions versus just the comments or the salams and stuff like that, so we can try to address it in the short time that we have. To be honest, I'm not open to the idea of polygyny because of my own insecurities. I've been cheating on in the past with my ex-husband and a lot of betrayals. However, I also feel there's something that won't allow me to just leave this idea as well. My husband has talked about the possibility of marrying a second wife. However, she worries because of the laws. How is it that you're also so open on this matter, especially in a time when there's so much hatred for Muslims in the United States? All right, so I know in my heart, I know in my head there's nothing wrong with polygyny. I watched all of the shows and have said for years, before I converted, if polygyny was wrong, Allah would have said so. I know I'm brainwashed, but I don't know how to change it, and I fear if I don't, it will hurt my husband. He's a good man who does not deserve that. So, the sister asked this question. So, again, start at the beginning. There's a few different questions here. And again, here's the challenge. We want to get to more than just one question, so it's not like we can go, because there are there are different issues.
Layers to that.
Exactly. But we're going to go kind of give a cursory there, and that's one of the reasons we also have our Relationship Mastery Inner Circle. We no longer go live every week on social media because we have to serve our members, and we're going live next week for our Relationship Mastery Inner Circle members as well. Nevertheless, first question goes into, I had to find it, right? It's not the question mark necessarily. Okay, so how did you all decide to become a polygynous family and have another wife? How was that for you as a first wife who was raised in the West? One, I can answer this part of the question. I know you said dear sisters, but I decided that we become a polygynous family, pretty much. There wasn't like a big discussion or huddle up.
There wasn't a discussion.
There wasn't. I was like, yo, all right, this is the time. I went like, yo, that's not how it really was.
I don't do yo.
So I made that decision independently. It would have been better, again, since we talk about best practices and in retrospect, and vision being 20 or hindsight being 2020. It'd been better to if possible, if the circumstances were right, to sit down, discuss it, and so on and so forth. I mean, everybody's situations are different. So I decided that. And how was it for you as first wife who was raised in the West?
It sucked because I was uneducated, and now it's so interesting because now it just seems like ages and ages and ages and ages ago, and it seemed like a different life that I was living back then, because now I decided to become more educated on it. I mean, I knew it. I didn't disregard polygyny because it is of our culture 100%. So as a Muslim woman, I can only speak from an Islamic perspective with regard to most things that I do in my life. So I don't have an issue with polygyny, but it's just, there's so many conversations that needed to be had that weren't had that would have made the transition better. And I know that if we're not educated on things, we tend to fear them because we don't know. So if we become educated on topics that are difficult like polygyny, I'm telling you, it will feel better. But if you run from the topic, if you don't want to educate yourself on it, you will stay stuck in something, and then you'll go, you'll just live with a lot of regret. So had I been educated sooner, I would have felt better sooner. So that has nothing to do with anyone else but me. And I had to make a decision to go, okay, this is how do I feel better? How do I make this better? How can this be the best experience that it can be? And part of it started with me being educated on polygyny and deciding that, okay, this is our culture, then you either in or you're out. It was that simple. But to dismiss it or to be disrespectful about polygyny in any way, shape, or form, or any, what are these negative terms or connotations that come along with the conditioning that people have in the West and much of the world, that had to go. So it was just making a very strong decision that I don't want this to rule my life. I want to learn about it and move forward. It was about moving forward for me and wanting to feel better. You have to want to. You really have to make a decision.
All right, before we go to the next part of this question, I have to answer the sister's question. She said, are they twins? No, but I know why you asked that, because you see the pink getting dressed alike today and stuff. Here's the deal. Our children, we teach entrepreneurship, obviously, as a family. And, we believe that's one of the foundational keys to independence, period. Financial independence and economic security. So no, they're not twins, they're not sisters. Islam does not allow that. They are not biological sisters, okay? So, but they are wearing these shirts, right? And if you can see the shirts, say FTP, hashtag FTP. Now, some people ask, what does that stand for? Depends on when you were raised. But this in particular stands for, these are, again, our children's, the shirts. So, FTP. In this particular situation, this is from Public Enemy, or Fight the Power, right? So, we sell these shirts representing the kids and stuff. So, if you want some shirts, well, the site gonna be up later on this week, inshallah. But nevertheless, they do, we can ship them to you and everything else as well. Yeah. So, they Cash App is FTP shirts. But I do want to say that stuff. No, they're not twins.
No.
They're, Muslim sisters, yes, but not biological sisters. That something like that is not allowed in polygyny, in marriage and stuff like that in Islam. So I got to say that, because that was new. But nevertheless, let's get back on this. Now, we got people tuning in, Watchmen Awakens, Shalom, Salaam, Shalom from Trinidad and Tobago. What's happening? Zayn Abdul Salam over there in Philly doing the thing. Alhamdulillah. Jamil Shabazz, alhamdulillah. Allahumma ameen. And if we hit like, and when we do hit like, and we say alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, that's for everybody. We definitely appreciate you, duas. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you put question marks in front of your questions. But I had to hit that real quick for you, sis, Aura.
Thank y'all for your kind words too.
Yes. Indeed. Awesome. And we will try to speak a little bit louder so you can hear us.
I feel like I'm yelling already.
Specifically, yep, we're gonna do that, Tanya. We got you. Jasmine plugging in. Peace and blessings, Queen. Celeste, Sophia. Okay, cool. Now back to the next part of this question, because again, several different layers and pretty important. Okay, how did you two become so close, and what did your initial conversations look like?
Well, our initial conversations weren't really conversations. I mean, so that's the kind of thing it was. We were always cordial. I mean, of course, we said in a number of our videos and everything, we were always cordial. So that was not an issue. But our conversations weren't conversations. The interesting thing is when you become friends with people, sometimes you'll remember how the initial thing happened when you became friends. I mean, I have friends with me, I'm like, how did we start talking to each other? But it just happens. However, I do remember, because this is stored in, if anybody's seen the movie Inside Out, I'm my mom, so you know what I'm saying? They got these things and they talk about these little memories, core memories. So this was stored in my core memory. Coach Fatimah invited me on a lunch date. So we had a date,
Yes.
on a sisterhood lunch date. It was really, really beautiful. It was nice. And we had a great time. The weather was gorgeous. It was nice. So I was like, it's a core memory. Like I can explain it like it happened yesterday, like it happened this morning. And that right there solidified to me her role, her part in saying, you know what, I want to develop a relationship with you. And it just continued from there, and it's like it snowballed. So it wasn't like this little bitty thing, okay, she made this one move and then I made this one move. It was like, okay, bam, and now bam, here we are. Now, and it's not that simple, but you know how when you see your kids grow up, like you don't see your kids grow up, but other people see how they, they see the process. That's how our relationship went. Like, I don't know how our process got the way it is, but people on the outside looking in can see that thing, and we'll have to really sit back and try to like, how did this happen on this month and that month and this month? It's a beautiful thing. And one of the things is that once you're open, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen naturally, and it's going to happen. What is the word I'm looking for? That's the word I was looking for. See, bam.
We're twins.
It happens organically, and it happens. And you don't even realize. You don't realize. You don't have to work at it. It's just natural and it's normal. So yeah, the first conversations weren't really conversations. After we sat down and pretty much talked and had our own time together, it just literally skyrocketed from there.
And we decided that the topic of our conversations was not going to be our husband.
No, unless he get on our nerve. No, just like.
We need to have a roasting session.
No,
but we did. We were moms. We're entrepreneurs. We're active in our community. So there's other things to talk about. So, that we were really intentional about going, let's get to know each other outside of being wives.
Yeah.
That's important.
Who is the first wife, please? Loving the relationship.
This twin. I was born first.
Right.
So Coach Fatimah and I were married 25 years, and Coach Nyla 10 years. So
yeah,
that's
she was born 15 years later. Get that rumor going real quick.
Let me see. There's another question. What are the benefits of polygyny for women?
I know you got that.
Yeah, it's so many.
She's answered that eloquently.
But I've answered it. We have videos on it because I've answered it so many times.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, because there's different benefits for everybody.
Exactly.
So that's that part. And I did a video, Why I Married a Married Man, that actually talks about what were the benefits.
Go check that.
Married. So
check it out.
Where was that question from?
That
question is on you. That was a question from YouTube.
Yeah. So that's
why. Benefits of polygyny for women? Yeah, it's not up yet. Go to YouTube. It says I'm pretty sure it's a sister asking that. Go to she has a video. It's like probably our most viewed video.
Yeah.
Called Why I Married a Married Man.
It's good.
So, and I talk about different things. And my co-wife and I, we actually did a benefits video too. Like, I think it's called Does Polygyny Only Benefit the Man or something like that? And we talk about that as well. And how it benefits.
A couple weeks ago.
So this is because
toxic
responses. And the thing is that because this is a question that constantly come up, so we decided to do videos on it. The thing is, so many different benefits. It's benefits for for what do you want to call an incoming wife,
Right.
where I was a single parent, and not that it's like, oh well, I was just destitute and in need. It was the
parent, divorced,
just,
lonely woman.
so poor
Oh,
me.
Lord.
No, it was
See,
the point of, you know, for one, being a single parent is difficult. I mean, you can do it, it's still difficult. I don't care. You didn't, it's not natural to have where it's like, okay, you didn't have the baby by yourself, so you shouldn't have to raise the baby by
Right,
yourself.
right,
Just
right.
saying. I'm just gonna leave that out there. But the thing is that it does help you to breathe a little bit, and
Second
you
that.
know, it allows. You know, something that you said.
Second that.
Because some people, let me tell you, some first wives that I've heard, where they say, you know what, I didn't think that I would be okay with polygyny.
Child.
However, now that he's away from the house
I
a
don't
lot,
know how I'd live without it.
now he's away from the house,
Hey.
where it's like, wait. So, you know, that's a benefit. And I've heard this. So that's a benefit from, you know, people that are like, hey, you know, I got some time that, you know, I'm figuring
to
out some stuff that I
Chicago.
like. I'm figuring out something. And not saying that you lose that, but sometimes we do. Sometimes as mothers, as wives, we get into this routine of taking care of people, and we're not taking care of ourselves as much. So sometimes when it comes to polygyny, and I'm bringing something from one of our coaching clients, where she was like, it helped her, being in polygyny helped her to reflect on the things that what she didn't like, certain things that she what she would put up with and what she wouldn't put up with. But she had so much time with this person that this person was doing these things, period. But it wasn't until polygyny happened where she was like, wait, I got time to reflect on some things. So, you know, it helps in different ways. Like you have, you know, you do have a person, or, you know, even when it comes to co-wives who get along, who are looking to get along, like my co-wife, Coach Fatimah said, that if you are looking to, you know, move forward, if you're looking to improve, if you are looking to do that thing, you have this bond, you have this friendship. If I'm out and about and I see something for her, I'm grabbing it. If, you know, they need something for the house, I'm asking, I'm grabbing it, you know, and it's same vice versa. So you have a lot of hands to help you out when it comes, you know, more than, you know, just yours when it comes to that. So it's so many different, I mean, it's so many different things, and it'll just take forever to go through all the benefits for me. But just check out those videos, because we definitely have them, and we run through them, because it's a lot of benefits.
It's
for the
tons. It's really tons. And your kids are going to
women. And
continue
actually
to grow
probably
through
more benefits
polygyny.
for the women than it is for the men.
I
Sorry,
think
just
so.
letting y'all know that, whether y'all want to believe it or not. But it's, you know.
It's an optical illusion when we think it's just
It's
something for the men.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not.
Probably, absolutely.
Probably too.
Yeah.
Even with our children, they're gonna grow. So I have 4 adult daughters. They're all over 18 at this point. They're gonna need more time to have conversations as women with me, and I need to have time to have those conversations with them. And they don't always want to go. They'll go, oh, we'll wait till Abu goes to Juma so we can talk about it. You know, I'm like, okay, we'll talk then. You know, but I didn't know they would need that. I didn't know that I would need time with each daughter, and that would take up a lot of time. So if he's there all the time, and we've talked to them together, but it's just sometimes women like talking to other women that happen to be their mother, and we can watch girly movies, and he's not there without him being there, because they'll get a little shy. Like our boys, they're 14 and 13. They do judo. All our babies do judo. All the boys do judo. And they silently wrestle in the house when their dad is home. But when I'm home, it's like the lamp falling over, and you hear the chair falling down. But when he's there, they're like, you just I'm like, y'all wrestling. Abu was here, so we had to be quiet. I'm like, oh, please, you know. But when he's gone, oh man, it's like WWE up in there. So it has, even those things that people don't think is a benefit, it's a benefit in my life. So my benefits, like you were, might not be the same benefits as yours. They likely won't be, but they're there. So we talk about that stuff. Even we talk about that on our podcast.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Now that
which
you
is
said
called.
that, which is
Yeah.
Which is
Candid Cowives Conversations.
where we talk about everything
everything through the eyes of co-wives.
Boom.
So yeah.
Blew it out.
And so make sure you guys check it out. The URL, outstandingpersonalrelationship.com/CCC podcast. Candid
Yes.
Cowives Conversation Podcast.
Sign
So
up and
yeah,
submit.
make sure you
Get
check
the
that. And then you
secret
get a secret
Get
season
the secret
when you
season.
sign up. So
No secret sauce, but a secret season.
secret season
All right.
that is only available on the website.
Boom.
Because this is new, there's a question. And it's reflective. I mean, I remember having the same question a long time ago. Well, so the sister asked, well, the reason I'm saying because it's new, we're talking about polygyny, right? Polygyny falls under the umbrella of what's called polygamy. Polygamy means having multiple spouses. Polygyny is the family-based part of poly, if you will. Polygyny, where a man has multiple spouses. In Islam, it limits man to have 4 wives at one time. So the question is, to the women, do you really enjoy living this way? Are you settling for religious purposes?
Oh, that's cute.
That's so nice.
I mean,
It's a legitimate question.
it's a legitimate question. I said it's cute because it's like, man, I've never heard anybody word it that way. So don't, yeah, I mean, I do. I'm be real. I do. I always wanted a big family. Always wanted a big
Come
family.
from a big family.
I come from a big family. I'm the oldest of 9. It's not as big as, our
It ain't
12,
nothing new.
amongst us. However, not only coming from being the oldest of 9, my uncle was around a lot. He's like a brother to me. Cousins were around.
Like
So
6 months
it
apart.
was,
Yeah.
6 months apart. Exactly.
So-
They close.
So it's, and we were always like together. And then we had cousins that were together that used to stay over the house and everything. So I've always been around that stuff, blended families,
Yeah, I was gonna say blended
all
too.
of that. So me, yes, I enjoy it very much so. I
It's
enjoy
nothing
it
new.
so much that when a birthday is coming up or graduation or something, I'm planning something. I'm trying to figure out how to do it big, even do
Yeah.
quarantine or anything.
On time.
So, so no, and it's not even just a religious purpose thing. When I read the book, Polygamy in Islam by Bilal Phillips, it was like, whoa, this makes so much sense. And I was like, yo, this is what's up. And I was like, yo, this is what's up. That if this is a thing, and I saw so many benefits of it. And then also as a type of person that I am that love being around, just love the big family dynamic and, being around the different personalities and learning from other people and everything like that. And this is like my family, like this is our team. I've always been like that. So yeah, definitely no settling here.
And let me just say something real quick for clarity. Nobody's locked into any marriage here.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's held hostage. We're here in front of you. We want to be here. We don't have to be here. Allah allows marriage and he also allows divorce. But we just need to say that this is a place that we all decided that we want to be, and we want to be a family. So that's what we're doing. It's so many benefits, and sometimes we can't see the benefit of something until we're in it, because talking about something like talking about marriage period is one thing, and living it is a whole nother
yeah.
thing. So I can see at the age I'm at now, even the age I was 10 years ago, I'm like, okay, this is in my life for a reason, and I have to be willing to trust Allah, because I'm Muslim, so I have to trust him first and foremost. If I trust him, a sister told me, a friend of mine, she's like, if Allah brought you to it, Fatimah, he'll see you through it. So I had to trust that fact, and he indeed did. So it's such a blessing that now when you see it, you can't see life without it. So my life was how it was supposed to be before polygyny, and this is how it is supposed to be during and while we're in polygyny. That's it.
Indeed.
Real quick, I wanted to jump on that too, because I like that she said that, your life before and after, and then just coming into like the whole healing part too. Because polygyny wasn't my first marriage. I didn't know like, oh, okay. I was in a monogamous marriage, and I look at certain things that prepared me for the life that I'm living right now. So yeah, so this thing is, when it comes to healing, it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't even great.
No. It was.
It was like,
Look
it
at him
was,
go.
I mean, it happened, it was what it was, but it came to a point where there were certain things that I'm like, okay, if I ever get married again, this is how it's gonna look. If I ever get married again, it was that awareness part and that healing part, because it was some trauma there too, not physical or emotional abuse, nothing like that, but trauma. And as to when you are a person that you think that marriage is the thing, you think that this is what your life is supposed to look like, and it doesn't come that way, and then you're blaming yourself for the way things are turning out. It creates that trauma. It creates that low self-esteem. It creates that different stuff that you have to go through and grow through in order to have the stuff that you have now. So it just made me think of when you were saying that if Allah brought you to it, he'll see you through it. And that was that thing where it's like, okay, how do I want my marriage to look? What do I want it to look like? And that's, again, another part to that question of, you're just doing it for, religious purposes, or you really enjoy it. It's like, okay, now this is on purpose. What do I want it to look like? I know that this is something I always wanted, a big family. I knew who my co-wife was before she was my co-wife. I knew the kids that they had. I knew how much he loved her. All that stuff. And I was like, oh, this would be awesome family.
Come on, MJ.
To be a part of.
Come on, optimism. You better work.
So it's the kind of thing. So yes,
We're going left, y'all. Sorry. But that's important.
All right.
But yeah.
Now,
We're being aware.
a couple questions. So what other books or resources could I buy for my fiance to learn about this from a cultural perspective? Well, there's a few different things. One, we have outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. We have what's called the Relationship Mastery Inner Circle course. It helps work and build on you first as an individual, so you can deal with you and become more, and then expands into marriage in your most intimate relationships around you. So we do have a membership on that. We go live every single month. You have downloads, there's audios, there's many other things that go on with that. We think that's the best resource you can have. We wish we would have had that a long time ago.
Man, I would pay top dollar.
I'm saying. So, you know what I'm saying? That is what I would suggest. First of all, you can get information and details at outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM for relationship mastery. There's detailed stuff there. You can register there and so on. So with that being said, there are a few other books. Like our book should be finished preferably this summer, ready by the autumn, called Let's Talk Polygyny, Uncensored. So that's our book. We're writing that. So that's dope. There are a few other resources as well. Let me just share with you. There's a book called We Want for Our Sisters What We Want for Ourselves. African American Women Who Practice Polygyny by Consent.
Love it.
It's a good book by Patricia Dixon. You can get that, of course, on Amazon. We Want for Our Sisters What We Want for Ourselves.
I love it.
There's another book, Polygyny, What It Means When African American Muslim Women Share Their Husbands. All right, pretty good book. And then there's From Monogamy to Polygyny as well. Again, that's not our book, but these are some good resources, and we like to provide those resources no matter what. So prayerfully that will help from that perspective. Criminal, you go to jail because of the books we talk. Let me switch over here. I have to read this one
Cool.
situation that also goes deeper into things too. The sister, what's her name, Tawana, I have a question. Does your husband take care of the bills? And I'm wondering if this question is really spawned because I've seen a lot of posts talking about, if you make it $10 an hour and she making $10 an hour and you get two more to make it $10 an hour, you make $100,000 a year. That's dope with polygyny.
No.
And you sit in the middle. That's one of the dumbest, idiotic, immature things I've seen. So no, we didn't get involved with polygyny for economic benefit, and this is the way to go ahead and do it collectively. You don't have to marry somebody to create a business and entrepreneurship and to grow it and to thrive and everything else. Yet we practice entrepreneurship. Yes, they have their own funds and money. Yep, we're working on this project together. Yes, we're teaching our children entrepreneurship and really taking things to a whole other level. And that's my responsibility to obviously handle the bills. All right, but if that was where that came from, who knows?
Y'all coming with these questions.
Yeah, well, we answered. That was her previous question right there too. But there's a couple things. Another thing. Let me go to this email. This email and a few different people kind of with the same thing. Anyway, they're talking about jealousy, not being able to really get over that and stuff like that. That's what it pretty much comes to. How do you deal with
that's the thing, as long
that
as you're
jealousy,
mental,
that hurt, and that
But as long as when you keep saying, I can't get over it, then you're not
Telling
gonna
your
get
brain
over
a
it.
command.
You're not
You're giving
gonna
your
get over
brain a command when you
Okay.
say I
Yeah.
can't.
So I'm struggling so bad right now. The guy I want to marry is interesting. Polygyny, I used to hate it with a passion. When I became Muslim, I did wean off of hating it, more so toward tolerating it. I grew up to the point of just saying, if I was married and he wanted another woman, I'd just leave him, let him be with her, and just move on. Now I'm faced with this situation. This brother is very brilliant in understanding Islam and the black community. When he told me he had been talking to someone, I went to a place of denial. I thought it was wonderful at first. Not the idea of him wanting someone else, but the fact that I didn't blow up, curse, get mad, get an attitude. None of that. I calmly listened. I couldn't even understand myself for a minute. I even prayed that night thinking a lot I was able to handle it so well. Well, the next day is here and denial is leaving my body and I'm feeling anger kicking in.
It's
Normal.
shock.
Strong. So that's the question right there. Yeah, how do you deal with that? That's one. And then there was another one that was basically 2 sentences saying, look, I don't know, I'm gonna be able to really handle these emotions. I'm getting upset and anger and all that.
Okay, there's different things. Like I went through, like they differ. There's either the 5 stages of grief or the 7 stages of grief. And the first stage is shock, and then anger starts to kick in, and denial, and carrying on. We could go on, but
how do you control jealousy? Because there's so much on me.
I started thinking about what I loved about me, regardless of what somebody else did. I love the way that I created art. I love the way that I designed my home. I love the way that I was friends to people, how I mothered my children. And I started to fall in love with Fatimah again, and what made me so awesome. And only Allah gets the praise for the things that I do that are good. So it's having this really strong relationship with Allah first, and having a passionate love for him first, and then a moderate love for, our husband. And in that order, not passionate love for the husband, moderate love for the creator, for Allah. And just falling in love with me again was super important in my life. And then I saw that what was really important to me was that my children saw me do that and know that that was authentic and sincere, and I wanted to feel better. And so now that my daughters are grown, my boys, they don't care. But now that my daughters are grown, they go, I remember when you did that. I remember when you fell in love with you again. I remember when you found out you were awesome again. I remember that.
Because it's normal. I mean,
Because it's normal.
It's normal for you to go through emotions. That don't make you a bad person. That don't make you anything.
It doesn't
like
make
that.
you weak.
If you don't make you weak, if you're jealous, that don't make you bad because you're jealous. But here's the thing: why are you jealous? Why are you jealous? First, figure out those things. Because sometimes, just like what, my co-wife and coach said, she said when she started falling in love with herself again, when she realized how great she was again, not, it wasn't about him anymore.
Because people were trying to take, people were trying to take that from me. Right. And it wasn't that he was, it wasn't that my co-wife was, but people were saying, well, what did you do? Or what happened? Right. Or did you say something? Did you do something? Can you have kids? Because some people didn't know we had kids. They just didn't know. They heard of the story. So I was like, oh, honey, I got some kids if I don't have sense. So it was like these accusations that I was getting. And I'm like, what made me awesome in the first place? What made me marriageable in the first place?
Then it starts to quell those jealousies, because you be like, what am I jealous for? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the bomb. I'm awesome. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a triple threat girl.
So when you look at that stuff, and like I said, not saying that jealousy is anything bad. It is how you deal with certain stuff. But a lot of our jealousies do come from insecurities. A lot of it does. True. And I'm saying that because I be like, oh, I wish I had that. Or I like, and it don't even be wishing to have the thing. It may be wishing to have the feeling that the other person had, or the, how they look like they're enjoying their life type of thing. Yeah. So it's one thing to want something, how somebody else have it, or want something someone else has. It's another thing to not want somebody else to have what they have. Those are two totally different forms of, whether it's jealousy, envy, or however you want to put it. It's those type of things, and you got to be careful of what that allows you to do and feel like. So we can understand, as the dust settles and it starts to, hit hard. Now it comes to the point of like, okay, I'm jealous. I'm aware of that, or I'm feeling like, I'm feeling this type of way, and I'm heated right now. Now it's like, why am I feeling this way?
And that is really important. Get to the bottom of it. Oh, that's so important, because part of the jealousy that comes with polygyny is that the thought is, okay, your husband fell in love with somebody else, you don't get to do that because you don't get the option of having another husband. I don't know who would want that. I would never have that responsibility of another wife or wives. But don't worry about him falling in love with somebody else. You start falling in love with who you are, and that's where you fall in love again at.
And don't ever think that because it's someone else that he stops feeling the way that he feels about you.
People aren't built
That's
way.
that part. And we talked about that in a number of videos as well. That, not even just men are set up different, but we talk about it with a child. We don't, when another child comes along, we don't stop the love for our previous children because this child came along. So, I think a lot of the stuff is just like what Coach Fatimah said earlier in the live about knowing these certain things and being more educated, where it's to the point of saying, has things really changed that different of how he's been treating me? How he is to me, and how I am to myself. Because once you start changing your mindset and start acting a certain way, then things are going to be a certain way, because whatever you perceive it to be is going to be that, because you're putting that out there. But if you are saying, you know what, I need some time, which is fine. That's what we're talking about this in healing. It's fine. Take your time, but communicate that too. You know what? I need some time to deal with this. I need some time to process this, and I need to work on me so we can get through this together.
Indeed. So, all right. Ali, why did you decide to take on another wife? Then Tanya, do you miss having your husband to yourself? Have you forgiven your husband not having a discussion with you initially concerning another wife? Good questions. You're showing this way of thinking is not completely wrong. This business is not the only reason why people should practice polygyny. And now, by the way, regarding the question of bills and stuff in business and group economics, it's smart, one, to be able to build together. All right. Now you see 3 of us right here, but what you don't see is the dozen children that come from the marriage. This is polygyny. It's family based. All right. Maybe if you followed us for some time or saw us on Eid, maybe saw a group family photo where we're sitting down and there's a whole bunch of children around. Those are our kids, right? Those are babies. So we can build a team, you know what I'm saying? You have to birth the team when it comes to loyalty and everything else that comes along with it. But I'm just saying that's not the reason specifically for polygyny. And you don't need a reason. First of all, you don't need a reason. There's not a reason. It's marriage. All right. Again, we're not anti-monogamy. We're just pro-morals. And since there's very little resources when it comes to polygyny, we decided, let's shine some light on this. Since we're at a certain level, we had to discover a lot of stuff ourselves, reverse engineer it, and share from the best practices how you can actually have it be successful and fulfilling, period. Or not. All right. If it's not, it is what it is. I mean, most marriages are going to end in divorce. Does that mean you just throw marriage out the window now? Not really. But you probably want to be good at it, becoming better with yourself, and not being the issue or the challenge where it doesn't. Or if there's issues and challenges, knowing when to go ahead and call it.
You don't need a reason to practice monogamy. You don't.
So why make polygyny something different?
Yeah, it's not any different.
So there are many different reasons, but why do I decide to take on another wife? Well, there's not really a simple answer to it. It's not like, because of this. I saw her and I'm just like, no. But I want to practice Islam, the fullness of Islam. All right. I know that there are many different benefits to Islam, and Allah Ta'ala is Al-Hakim, He's the most wise, period. So even if I don't understand something, that doesn't mean much when the Creator, the one who designed me and everything else, has put something out. So I want to experience the fullness of Islam. So whether that's going and participating in Hajj, whether that's going in, being able to protect physically on the battlefield somewhere, have that opportunity to do something like that. I would want to experience that as a human in this realm while I'm still here walking on the crust of the earth. So I want to experience Islam to the fullest. And as a man, I love women. I got married at 19. It was like, I learned about Islam and everything like that and so on. Just being real. I love women. Women are the most beautiful creation that I know that Allah Ta'ala has put. Better than any beautiful sunset and mountains and all this thing. Women.
Okay, let me clean that up a little bit. So no. Because when it came to monogamy, practicing Islam and saying what it is, I'm like, okay, and I wasn't doing right and I'm learning, we need to get married. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way to go ahead and do it. All right. So that's the Prophet ﷺ let us know what's in us. He says he left nothing on this earth, on the planet, with more fit in it for men than women. And we know that driver. So men are different than women, period. So, and you can marry up to 4.
Just saying what it is. So there's no specific reason that it's taken or, oh, come across this or you checked off the checklist, and there's not. All right.
Let me say something to the women, because the men are not thinking that way. The men understand what he's talking about. When he says he loves women, this is not, we're sitting here and there's two of us, and then he's going to just collect the women and just looking at the women out here wilding out. That's not what I mean, y'all. It's something that Allah has created in the men, and I get it. You know, women look at what looks good too, but we don't go, oh, let me have a relationship with a bunch of men, and like, you know, some might say that, but the women from my era don't. But I just kind of wanted to say, you know, because we know in Islam, you're not it is haram to collect the women like they're things or objects, and this is not collecting women. This is polygyny.
But that's not about to say it's marriage. So that's different.
Let's make a distinction between.
Yeah, when we say we're pro morals, here's the thing. People, when you relegate marriage, and specifically polygyny, to just sex, people are like, oh, we just want to have more sex. That's one of the most immature, dismissive things you can say. You know why? Because you don't have to get married for sex, do you? Right. How many people on the block that you live on are having sex but they're not married? Right. Or cheating and having sex, or going to pay for having sex. Right. So when you just relegate it to sex, polygyny is not about legal sex. I mean, think about if you're married. Think about this. Yeah, 24 hours in a day or 168 hours in a week. How many hours are you spending having sex? Think about that. What percentage of your day? But with marriage, you married 100% of that time. So when you dismiss it and just say something about sex, did you say that when he first married you? Monogamy? Hey, you know what? Let's get married so I can have sex.
Think about how that sounds.
You know what I'm saying? That's really dismissive and immature. So sometimes we have to think about these things before we say it. Because with marriage comes a whole gamut of responsibilities that come along with that. You all right? And most men are not willing to do that. So when a monogamous system is set up, when you look at the entire purpose of it, it's to protect the man. It's not for protection of the woman. No, look, when you look at it, again, we're not anti-monogamy, but you need to understand what it is. Monogamy allows you to have many girlfriends, boyfriends, jump downs, thoughts, mistresses, whatever it may be, concubines, all of this stuff. You can have as many of those as you want and still practice monogamy, because that just only means you have one legal wife. So the children from this, you have to take care of. She has some rights over you. All the rest of them have no rights over you. That's monogamy. That's what you see in society, the boyfriends, the girlfriends, the Clintons, the Jesse Jacksons, the MLKs, all this stuff. You see all that going on? That's monogamy, serial monogamy. And really unrestricted polygamy is what's going on in society. So polygyny, when you talk about polygyny, practice polygyny in an honorable fashion, this is marriage. This is taking care of a fam. This is family based. So when I talk about the children, that's real, and that's raising them up, being in their life. I know people are out today, people to celebrate, oh, it's Father's Day and all this type of stuff, and some fathers, they just had babies. So it's like, hey, happy Father's Day. You look like you had sex with a woman that had a baby. Happy Father's Day. They might not even know you, right? They just assume these different things. And many aren't even fathers, aren't doing the job and responsibility of being a father, but they still having sex. So when you relegate it and dismiss it to something that's just sex, you gotta check yourself. Because if you are married and you're in a monogamous marriage, or you might have been the first wife or what have you, or the initial wife, would you really say, oh, why did you guys get married? Oh, he wanted to have sex.
Right. No one ever asked that when it's
you know what I'm saying? Come on. So we gotta use this a little bit more. But I gotta get into this question. We're gonna wrap up because we've been here for a minute. And the Slap the Lord's coming in shortly. All right. So brother gives me a summary of the situation. Now here, on IG, if you hit us on the inbox, we don't do coaching and all that stuff in inbox. You have a question or something, we may ask you a question. It's best to do that by email. So sister says she sent us a DM. We may have gotten it, may not have gotten it, because they ask you to move stuff to different boxes. But you can email us. That'd be one of the best ways to get at us, or of course, becoming a member. Summary of this brother's situation. A year ago, I opened up to my wife about marrying a second wife. His decision wasn't purely desire based. No need to say that. I was set on marrying a divorcee, single mother of max 2 children. The intention was generally help them out, but also they had a strong passion for the deen and da'wah, so we could all work together for the sake of Allah Ta'ala for the akhirah. Initially, my wife was very upset, emotionally upset, understandably. But after 3 to 4 months of discussions, contemplations, sleeping on every detail we discussed, my wife, alhamdulillah, was on board with me. She even found a sister for me in the first 2 weeks. But the sister was not compatible, so we did not go ahead. So we both started actively looking together. 9 months later, we found someone who met my criteria. After 2 to 3 months of negotiations, we decided to proceed with the nikah straight after last Ramadan, which is relatively new. We agreed on certain conditions in terms of nights, etc. beforehand. One condition was due to COVID, I wouldn't have to support her family financially for 6 to 9 months. Second wife currently lived with her brother and family, but if the brother found out she's the second wife, he would kick her out. So she would stay in the current accommodation, but they'll still meet up and stuff like that. Also, we decided none of the families would know for at least 3 or 4 months until the 3 of us established a good solid foundation of our relationship and lifestyle. The reason for keeping all the secret for the time being was due to the fact that all 3 families, my family, her family, and the second wife's family, are heavily against the idea of polygyny. They detest it greatly. These are Muslims. 2 weeks into the nikah, the reality started to sink in with my first wife, and she couldn't bear the thought now another woman's being affectionate with me, and I would be affectionate with her. So she snapped, called my family and her own family over. It was like a huge explosion and disaster. And now she's completely flipped out and changed her story. Yes, this is the app that calls the full adhan. She's completely flipped out and changed her story. That she was manipulated to the whole thing. Both families are angry. She endorsed and supported the idea, and she couldn't bear that everyone's pointing a finger at her. The last 2 days have been emotionally draining and very difficult. Everyone trying to get me. I'm left with no support. My wife's been very abusive, saying such nasty things that it's unbearable. The worst is when she tried to self-harm. I knew there would be storms, but I could not see all this coming. If I anticipate all this, then I would never proceed with polygyny. It's like she's gone from one extreme to another within a few hours after her family found out. When I say one extreme example, my first wife actually suggested to cook for all 3 of us on the day of our nikah, and we ate together. She said, I'll give you 2 newlyweds in privacy afterwards, so me and my wife could talk in private, subhanAllah. But the point is, the solution lies within my first wife. If she can overcome her issues now, then no one else can do anything. If she can't overcome them, somebody said. My first wife is now saying for me to leave the second as a solution. From day one, my wife said she wouldn't be able to do this. If from day one she said she wouldn't be able to do this, I would have never proceeded. As I mentioned, I'm more happy for your courses and so on and so forth. All right. Again, there's several layers. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. A whole lot of stuff going on, period. And just, I want to cut to this point, because the point is the solution lies within my first wife. If she can overcome her issues now, then no one else can do anything. If she can't overcome her issues, I'm sure he meant, then no one else can do anything. But the solution does not lie with his first wife. The solution lies with him. Okay, the solution lies with the brother. You made a bunch of different decisions along the way. And again, we speak from hindsight. So when we coach, when we train, we talk about, okay, these are the best practices. So there's a number of things that should not have happened. One is you empowered your wife to a certain point and failed to really consider any other ramifications and stuff like that that can go wrong or change in that process. So in doing that, bro, that's your responsibility. All right, now you're married to somebody else. Is this something that you can just fling off and just play with their life like that? You know what I'm saying? Is that something that, all right, now you're going to stay over here and think about that and, be the imam of the family, or you're not? There's a whole lot of moving parts and stuff go along. That's why, I suggested check our YouTube channel, well over 100 hours of different videos and different things, but you got to work on you building up your leadership stuff to begin with. This is why one of the reasons why many brothers are like, no, she can't help me find another wife. She may know what I like, all that kind of stuff. So, it's challenging. We know people like that person, right?
It's
right?
always
Not far from here, less than an hour and a half from here. She knew somebody, was a friend, and blah, blah, they're no longer friends. He's married to both of them. So many times it does not work. 1, 2, and we're gonna keep it all a secret because of the family. Listen, if you're gonna practice it, you got to deal with what people's thoughts, what they think of you is their business, it's really not yours. All right, as a man, you don't necessarily need rhino skin, have to grow thick skin. You got to be a man and stand by your decisions. So it doesn't matter if my mother, my father, nobody. When I became Muslim, the vast over 99% of my family is non-Muslim, other than the ones we birthed and are married, right? My father and my brother had accepted Islam, and may Allah Ta'ala accept them, they both have passed, so it's just me. Now, if I was worried about what people thought, like my mother and all the rest of them and things that they said and, all kinds of stuff, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's dealing with Islam, but this is a part of Islam. If a Muslims have a problem with a part of Islam, that does not affect your iman. And it's not your job to even try to help correct theirs. But if you're a man, you got to stand on yours. Okay, so there's a lot of things that's going on, but the solution lies with you as the man and the imam. At the beginning, it's going to be challenges most likely. It's going to be new. It's going to be an adjustment. There's going to be stuff that you never dealt with before, you never even could plan for. But as a man, it's your responsibility. It's not hers. Now, it's your responsibility to help her, try to get over with and deal with and all these types of things. But then let's say you do go ahead and divorce the second wife. Now, what does that mean? You set this wife up in a powerful position over you and your decision making on something that what Islam says.
And she can still be mad about it.
Then you got this other one that dealt with this and created this bond and these feelings and everything like that, that you decided to divorce.
Flip to the
and
side
then
like it's
now-
nothing.
yeah, like it's nothing because this other person didn't like it.
Because you allowed that other person
Right.
to have control. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on there, bro. You know what I mean? So we got to man up on situations. So I had to speak on that because again, I'm not gonna go back and forth with a whole bunch of coaching through the inboxes and the DM. No, we don't. You can email us, we can respond, we can handle it live and stuff like that. Or, again, if you're serious versus just curious, relationship mastery inner circle course.
Yeah.
outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM. If you want to go deeper, you want to go to the worksheets, you want to get to the psychology of it, you want to have a bonus coaching call and everything with us, then that's where you need to go. Here, we give some good information, we answer your questions. We can work with what we can work with. At the same time, a person needs to know whether or not they're curious about something or if they're serious about it. If they're talking about getting over emotional things and dealing with jealousy in the process, because even though it took years to get where we are now, you're looking at where we are now. All right, just like I don't remember who said it, but it's like, look, champions are not made in the ring. They just recognize there.
Right.
You don't see the working out and the diet and nutrition, the sweating in the gym, the getting up early. You don't see all that stuff behind the scenes. Or you see the glory of the spotlight or the belt and all that, the trash talking and everything else that goes along with that. Only because that's an easy analogy to use. Because behind closed doors and the work that's going on, the tears and the argument, the self-loving and the praying and the crying, all of these types of things happen. It's a part of our growth. But you have to be willing to go through that.
So, on the Red Table Talk, I think I want to say Angela Davis said it. Dr. Angela Davis, she said, if you're not willing, or she said, don't get into the fight if you're not willing to deal with the fire. And I took it as that stuff is going to come, challenges, trials, and things like that is going to happen, period. And that part where it seemed as though that it was a thought out process, but now that now that the fire is here, it's like, okay, what's the easiest way to put out the fire instead of what is the most effective and efficient and way as a leader to do that, to extinguish the fire and to grow and learn from it.
And then also, we got to start talking about not making people our emotional hostages.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this is emotional, holding you hostage emotionally. And just because, and I'm speaking to the sister, just because he divorces her doesn't mean he won't want to do it again, get another wife that he's allowed to do. And the brother, that doesn't mean she still won't be mad, even if you get divorced. So don't buy into that. Sign up to not be somebody's emotional hostage. And sisters need to quit holding their husbands emotionally as their hostage, because that's what it is. And we're going to have this platform, we're going to talk about the good and the ugly.
All right, and wrap it up and go back over to YouTube real quick. It's funny. What if you can't practice polygyny in the country because it's criminal and you can go to jail because of it? Well, depending on what country you're in, bro. You know what I'm saying? Or sister.
They don't recognize.
I don't know. I don't know anybody who's been locked up for polygyny. Either way, but this whole contract is the way you can deal with things. Can't wait for the book. Sister Zayna says that her husband loves women too.
I hope so. I hope he don't love guys.
Many Muslim men are also shying away from polygyny. It's not easy to find a husband when you're over 40. Listen, I agree. It's not hard to find a good Muslim man if you under 40. Like we have 4 adult daughters, right? 4 adult daughters. I'm a wali. I'm looking for qualified Muslim practicing Muslim men to marry my daughters. I'm not finding them. All right. And one of them wants monogamy for sure. One wants, polygyny, whatever. But the point is, I'm a man that has daughters under my charge. Now, am I going to put my daughters out there like that, like somebody else asking? No, I'm not. All right, but it's my responsibility to help find some qualified men to marry them. And we're talking about what? You know what I'm saying? We're talking early 20s. You know what I'm saying? What? Early 20s, about to be 20 next week, in a few days. Man, 3 days. Okay. So yeah, so 20 years old, so I have, young daughters and stuff that ain't been touched, for example, and they hard to find a good man for. Which goes right back into the wisdom of polygyny over 1,400 some years later after it was restricted and revealed. Now, polygyny has been around for a long time. Islam didn't come with polygyny. It's not for religious purpose only. Many people that learn from us aren't even Muslim. They don't necessarily subscribe to a particular belief system, but they may follow old ancient spiritual practices and whatnot, but they're interested in polygyny. And one of the most interesting things is that those who are non-Muslim in particular tend to find a whole lot of ease and peace with it more than a lot of Muslims who have the best example on the planet. So we have to be, be clear with that. And we're about to get ready to wrap up.
1:15, come and lead the prayer.
Yes, and
Come and lead the prayer.
all right, the Sheikh is letting us know. Pray in 11 minutes, so no problem. All right, with that being said, we're about to wrap. Inshallah ta'ala, it was beneficial. Now, people just chimed in and asked for different resources. One is the RMIC course that we have, Relationship Mastery Inner Circle. That's at outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/RM. Others are asking about the podcast. You want to give the URL for that and get the secret season for the podcast?
That is outstandingpersonalrelationships.com/CCC podcast. Podcast, not podcasts with an S, podcast.
With a T.
CCC. Lesson got on boots. All right. So with that being said, appreciate all y'all. South Africa's chiming in. Of course, U.S., Philly, representing on the East Coast. Trinidad and Tobago, Nigeria.
Yes.
Look, we appreciate all of y'all. Go out, you know what I'm saying? Make it your best, be your best. Know that we only have a very limited time on this planet, and make sure we're rocking that GLC.
Where you constantly
Or
are,
that FTP.
where you are growing consistently, loving intentionally, and connecting on a higher level every single day. So inshallah, we will see you soon, God willing. Assalamu alaikum.
FTP shirts. Yeah.
FTP shirts.
Twinsies. Good live, everybody. Boom.